something to think about.
Shalom and greetings. Thank you for tuning in to Something to Think About. I'm his servant, Jeff Gaines. And this episode of Something to Think About is entitled The Byproduct of Scriptural Faith. Let us begin by posing a rhetorical question. Should there be evidence or a byproduct of what we profess to believe or have faith in? Let's elucidate and get into the details of this rhetorical question and phrase it this way. Should a person's actions and character traits be reflective and indicator of their faith or belief? Although this is a rhetorical question, there is real and accurate evidence in the world today to support the norm actually portraying the negative of our rhetorical question. That a person's actions and character traits do not necessarily replicate or point to their faith or belief. Today, the norm is more in line with just believe what I say. Do not watch my actions, my character traits, the things that I do, because they are not associated with what I say or profess to believe or have faith in. Today, we see it as acceptable for an individual to say or profess certain beliefs or faith, and their actions, character traits, their byproduct be incongruent, not in harmony with their proclaimed faith or beliefs. Today, we see people explaining why it is perfectly acceptable and normal for people to have professed one thing and their character traits and actions being contradictory. And this transcends all social, racial, and gender classes, from the rich and famous to the poor and downtrodden, men and women, young and old. Sadly, there is no need for there to be any type of byproduct of a declared belief or faith. Coming into this understanding should be unsettling to all that respect and depend on truth. For those that may ponder why this would be disturbing, here is something to think about. Truth is the total package of belief and or faith and the byproduct or outcome of it. Let us think about the truth of 1 + 1 = 2. This is only true because everyone believes one is a single unit. And everyone has faith that it will always be a single unit. Likewise, everyone believes that 2 is a doubling of one single unit and has faith that it will always be only a doubling of a single unit. The combination of everyone's belief and faith in the numbers 1 and 2 give us a byproduct that everyone believes in and has faith that it is true. This is just one example of everyday things that everyone believes in and has faith it is true, emphasizing the point that beliefs and faiths are actually proven true by their byproduct. Understanding the world we're living in today should also be disconcerting from another vantage point, and that is we have moved from just rhetorical to reality. That the reality we exist in today does not require consistency and agreement with what an individual professes and their character traits and actions displayed and carried out. For the record, this was never the Most High Yahweh Elohim's intent. As we grow and move from just knowing to truly understanding what the scripture shares, it clarifies Yahweh Elohim requires and will judge uniformity between what an individual professes and their character traits and actions displayed and carried out. Let us allow scripture to enlighten us. Let us go to 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15.
2 Timothy 2:15. Study to show thyself approved unto Elohim, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth.
We're admonished to study spoudazo in the Greek, but not just to study, but to study spudazo, to show ourselves approved unto God Elohim. Let us not just gloss over this. Paul is admonishing all who seek to be one of the believers that study such that what God Elohim has commanded is tantamount in harmony with their byproduct of their scriptural faith that will justify them unto God Elohim. Not just to reiterate what they have heard or been told without any study by them. Remember, the last part of 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15 states, what will be the byproduct of your study? And that is to be able to rightly divide the word of truth. For those that have been studying with us that may have forgotten, or for those that may be new, we will define the word study or spudazo in the Greek. Its definition is a combination of 1, to hasten to do a thing, 2, to exert oneself, 3, endeavor, and 4, give diligence. To put in English, study or spudazo means right away, right now, exert ourselves, continuing to exert ourselves, to give careful and persistent effort. Each of these actions need to be applied in order to qualify as studying. Actually, the word study is the actual act that is directly related to the rhetorical question. Should there be evidence or a byproduct of what we profess to believe or have faith in? The reason why the word study is related to the rhetorical question is that we are assuming people would first study this action, to study before professing faith or belief in anything. But do people actually study? Even those that profess to have studied, have they hastened to do a thing, exerted themselves, endeavored, gave diligence? Remember, each action must be exercised in order to qualify as studying. Based on what we described as the norm of today, the assumption people study seems to be incorrect. That people are not first starting the action of studying before professing belief or faith in anything. This clarifies why people do not actually possess the character traits of what they profess to believe or have faith in. And their byproduct, their actions confirm and show evidence of the disagreement between what they profess to believe or have faith in. Sadly, today it seems most people are comfortable just taking another's perspective instead of studying for themselves. The scripture definitively addresses and speaks of several examples of individuals and their scriptural byproducts of faith in Hebrews chapter 11. Hebrews chapter 11 also does a very significant and important thing. It defines what is scriptural faith and the byproduct of scriptural faith in the very opening verse. The word faith is used so frequently and for so many different things and in so many different settings. It is of paramount importance that all those seeking to be one of the believers grow from just knowing to truly understanding the scriptural definition of faith, as well as its byproduct, versus the secular meanings of the word faith, so that the faith we profess is congruent or equal to our actions and character traits, and our byproduct is in alignment with the faith we profess. Something to think about. We can know the definition of a word, but that may not really describe what the word means. its byproduct. Without the byproduct of a word, there is no definitive meaning. In order to prove this point, let us examine the word success. It is a noun, and the Merriam-Webster's dictionary definition for success is outcome, result, a degree or measure of succeeding, a favorable termination of a venture, the attainment of wealth, favor, or eminence, one that succeeds. Now, let us ask the question, does this definition definitively define success and what its byproduct is? It is safe to say that if asked, each one of us would have a different opinion of what success is. And no answer would be right, and no answer would be wrong, because the definition given for success does not have a definitive byproduct. An answer could be based on tangible things or an intangible idea. It could be based on measurable outcomes or immeasurable events or status, depending on the topic or genre. Now that we've been prepped, let us examine Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. It is the only place in Scripture that defines and describes faith and its byproducts. This is of paramount importance to understand, because understanding this takes away the freedom for anyone to create or make up what they think is faith and its byproducts. Now, anyone professing or claiming to be one of the believers has a template to compare their faith and their byproducts with Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. But as we grow and move from just knowing to truly understanding, I pray that we share our understanding with others, that it might limit the usage of the word faith and truly make it very definitive. Let us read Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1.
Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
Let us examine in detail this passage of Scripture. It starts with the word now. The word now is stressing the word to which it is attached to, the word faith. So it is imperative that we understand what is the scriptural definition for the word faith. Faith is the Greek word pistis. It is a feminine noun. And the Vine's expository dictionary definition is primarily firm persuasion, a conviction based upon hearing, akin to persuade. It is used in the New Testament always of faith in God or Christ or things spiritual. The definition for the word faith is worth digressing for a moment. The word conviction used as one of the definitions for the word faith, interestingly enough, is just the opposite of the word faith, in that it is used infrequently. People are more inclined to use the word faith instead of conviction. This is something to think about. The word conviction is a strong word, and its byproduct is usually always evident. Whereas the word faith is more nebulous and ambiguous, leaving the byproduct vague and uncertain. Let us give support that the word conviction is a strong word that usually has an obvious byproduct. A general example of this is shown throughout history. Men and women have been convicted over varied causes and were willing to give their lives for their cause. A more specific example took place not so long ago in this land called the United States of America. Men were convicted and gave their lives over the principle of slavery. Still today, men and women are convicted and giving their lives for various causes. So, if we are able to understand that faith in its original Greek language means conviction, and that a conviction is something that people are willing to give their lives for, hopefully it will cause us to reflect when we profess our faith. We've grown from just knowing to understanding the word faith is a transliteration of the Greek word pistis, which we now want to associate with conviction, something a person is willing to give their life for. But notice, the scripture goes on to tell us what faith, pistis, or conviction really means by identifying its byproduct. If you notice, the word right after faith in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1 is the word is. Scripture is informing us to pay attention to what is to follow, because it will reveal to us what the faith conviction should be directed toward, the byproducts. So now that we've grown from just knowing to truly understanding what faith really means, let us also understand the byproducts of faith. We know the definition of the word faith is a firm persuasion or conviction, but it is crucial to know what is the persuasion or conviction attached to. What are the byproducts? We stated earlier the word faith is used so frequently and in so many different settings and for so many different things. Now let us understand that scriptural faith, pistis, has a specific and distinct usage and is defined by its byproducts. The scripture tells us exactly what the believers in Yeshua should have their faith, their persuasion, their conviction in, as well as what should be their byproducts. Let us refer back to Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1, and examine what is being stated. It shares faith, which we now want to think of as conviction. Faith is. We now understand the word is a hint to pay attention to what is to follow, the byproducts of what conviction, persuasion should be in. Faith is the substance. The word substance in the Greek actually means confidence, assurance. This is what your faith and conviction is based on. It is based on confidence and assurance. Faith is the substance of things. What are the things? The things being referenced here are all the things written in the Word. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. The word hope used here in the Greek means to hope, but is not infrequently translated in the American version by the verb to trust. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence. The word evidence in the Greek means a proof that by which a thing is proved or tested. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Once again, the reference to things is referred to all the things written in the scriptures, things that we have not even seen yet. As we look at Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1 in the Greek, with what we have grown from just knowing to understanding, it defines the meaning of faith, pistis, and its byproduct. It shares the believer's conviction is their confidence and assurance of all the things written in the Word that they trust in. The proof of all the things written in the Word that are promised to us that have not been seen yet. Scripture continues revealing the reason why it is important that we have scriptural faith, conviction, and the byproducts of scriptural faith. It is definitively stated in Hebrews chapter 11, verses 2 and 3.
Hebrews 11:2. For by it the elders obtained a good report.
Let there be no ambiguity as to what Scripture is referring to when it states by it. The it is speaking of the faith, the conviction, along with its byproducts that were defined in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. For it was only by faith, conviction, and the byproduct of faith that the elders obtained a good report. Let us read now Hebrews chapter 11, verse 3.
Hebrews 11:3. Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of Elohim, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear.
Scripture is sharing with us that it is only by faith, conviction, that we are able to understand our existence, and all existence was framed by God Elohim. This is the faith that allows the believers to praise and thank Yahweh Elohim for everything. As we stated earlier, we should grow from just knowing to truly understanding what is scriptural faith, what it means, and its byproducts. Actually, the secular definition of faith is not too far off from the scriptural definition. Some of the Merriam-Webster's dictionary definitions for faith are allegiance to, or duty, allegiance to duty or a person, belief and trust in, and loyalty to God. Something that is believed, especially with strong conviction. Please note, the secular definition mentions belief, trust in, loyalty to God, and strong conviction, but does not give or mention any byproducts of the beliefs, trust, loyalty, and or strong conviction to God Elohim. The main difference between the scriptural and the secular meaning goes back to what we called out earlier. The secular definition of faith is used so frequently and for so many different things and in so many different settings, the byproduct has basically been done away with. Whereas the scriptural definition and the requirements to be considered as one of the believers is the evidence of their byproducts. Without a byproduct as evidence, the secular definitions are just hollow words with nothing that distinguishes their actions and character traits to a standard benchmark. We must grow and move from just knowing to truly understanding that nothing that originates from man is capable to compare to Yahweh Elohim's perfection. It is imperative that we truly understand the importance of strict obedience to Yahweh Elohim's commandments, instructions, laws, and ordinance. Let us allow Scripture to give us clear and concrete guidance from both the Old and New Testament / covenant. Let us read Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 2.
Deuteronomy 4:2. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim, which I command you.
Now, let us go to the New Testament / covenant and go to the book of Revelation, chapter 22, and we're going to start reading in verse 18.
Revelations 22:18. For I testify unto every man that heareth the words of the prophecy of this book. If any man shall add unto these things, Elohim shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book. Revelations 22:19. And if any man shall take away from the words of the book of this prophecy, Elohim shall take away his part out of the book of life, and out of the holy city, and from the things which are written in this book.
So both the Old Testament / covenant and the New Testament / covenant warns all believers of the consequences of adding anything to the scripture, that is not already there, as well as taking anything away from the scripture that we are not instructed to take away. Let us reflect back on the original posed question and personalize it. Is there evidence of my byproducts of the faith, the conviction that I profess? Are my actions and character traits, my byproducts, reflective and in harmony with my faith, my conviction? Hebrews chapter 11 verse 2 shares only through faith, conviction, and the byproducts of scriptural faith are we able to obtain a good report. May we all study, spoudazo, and allow the Ruach Kadesh, the Spirit which is holy, to lead, guide, direct, and instruct us from the edifying of Yahweh Elohim's kingdom. Something to think about. If you're seeking a blessing, be a blessing. If this episode of Something to Think About has been a blessing, assist us with your time, talents, and finances in continuing to grow and move from just knowing to truly understanding the word of the Most High, Yahweh Elohim. Peace and blessings.
His servant encourages you and prays that you will continue with him on the journey of growing and moving from just knowing to understanding the word of the Most High, Yahweh Elohim. To support you on your journey, his servant offers the following resources. His servant email address. Please feel free to reach out to his servant at any time with any questions, concerns, suggestions, and/or comments. His servant website and his servant YouTube channel. You are encouraged to subscribe to be alerted of new content. In addition, his servant recommends reading or listening to the beginning of Scriptural Truth, Volume 1. It affords a strong beginning foundation in not just knowing, but understanding the Scripture.